Hello, Year 11 students. I am Darren Rushin. I'm the head of Sociology at Chelmsford Leyland Community College. And I understand that you have chosen to study Sociology A-level at the college, which is great. So this is a virtual induction lesson, which I believe is expected to be about 45 minutes. So that's what I've planned for. Yeah, I want you to be able to know what sociology is, what it studies, and I want you to be able to know what to expect come August or September. You'll need a pen and paper, and I want you to scribble down a few thoughts as we go through. You're not taking mass amount of notes, but there will certainly be times when I'll ask you a question. You can write down your thoughts, response to it. So why have you selected sociology? Is it the right choice for you? Well, it's the study of human societies and the individuals and groups that live within them. And it looks at human behaviour in terms of a number of things really, but in terms of how it changes over time, how it might possibly be different in different parts of the world, and also to what extent human behaviour is influenced by society. There's a great debate which one half argues that society is influenced by individuals, and so individuals shape society, and the other argument is that no, actually society shapes us, almost like we're puppets, and we do what society tells us to do. On this point, let's spend a few moments thinking about whether we agree with this or not. Do you use your free will to act and behave how you want, or are you a puppet? Are you controlled by society? Does society tell you what to do? Think about the clothes you wear. Think about the language you use. Think about opening doors for people. Think about throwing your rubbish in the litter bin rather than chucking on the floor. Do you do these things? Do you act this way because society has forced you to, or do you choose to behave a certain way? So sociology tries to explain human social behaviour. It tries to explain behaviour such as why people commit crime, or some people commit crime. Now, of course, it tries to explain why many people don't commit crime. So some people conform to laws and conform to norms, but some people do commit crime, and there are many explanations for this. Some might refer to inequality and poverty. Some refer to how some people have a greater range of ways of reaching their goals in life, so therefore they don't have to turn to crime, whereas some other people might innovate to turn to crime to enable them to meet those goals, such as to own a nice car. We also try to explain why fewer people get married. There's lots of explanations for this. As part of the families and households module, we spend quite a bit of time on marriage and divorce and cohabitation. In the education module, we explain why some ethnic groups underachieve at school. There might be references to home life, family culture, the attitude of parents, but also it could be to do with internal factors as well, so things that happen inside the school, such as the interactions between teachers and pupils. Could be issues of labelling. It could be issues of policies and practices within schools, such as the curriculum, such as what is actually taught. Some students may find this quite accessible. Others might be excluded because of it. Also, we try to explain why some countries have failed to develop. So in the Global Development Unit, we look at, once again, actually, internal and external factors. So internal factors that implying that it's something to do with the country itself. Maybe it's to do with its political leadership. Maybe it's to do with its climate. maybe it's to do with the culture, and likewise external factors as well. So could it to do with other countries, this global economic system that countries are based in. Also, sociology debates about society and how it should be studied. So within the sociological methods topic, the big debates about what kind of methods we should use. Should we use scientific methods? Is sociology a science? Or is it not a science and therefore we should use other non-scientific methods such as unstructured interviews and participant observation? It's the right course for you if you are interested in people. Ultimately, if you're interested in people, then maybe sociology is actually right for you. If you've got an interest in current events, local events, national and internationally, you don't need to be fully up on current affairs. You don't need to currently watch the news all the time and so on. But if you have no interest whatsoever in what's going on in the world, then maybe sociology isn't for you. It's right for you if you're wishing to develop some useful transferable skills related to maybe analysis, debate and evaluation. And also, it's the right course for you if you're willing to work hard and share your own thoughts. So it's not easy. A-levels are not easy, and you are expected to share your own thoughts. It may be in pairs or small groups initially, but by the end of the course, we would expect you to be really kind of speaking up and getting involved in class discussion. Right, let's have a little test. Is sociology for you? Do you know a lot about your society? You're not to worry if you don't do very well on this. Just a bit of fun, really. What do you know about your society? I'd like to jot down your guesses, your answers to these questions then. So the first one, what is the approximate size of the population of the UK in millions? 25 million, 35, 45, 55 or 65 million people living in the UK. Jot down your answer. Okay, question two. Question two. What is the most widely read newspaper in the UK? Is it the Times, the Sun, the Daily Mail, the Mirror or the Guardian? Moving on. Question three. In their lifetime, how many women in the UK will terminate a pregnancy? How common is abortion? 1 in 3 women will have an abortion in their lifetime, 1 in 6, 1 in 9, or 1 in 12. Moving on. Question 4. Roughly what percentage of the prison population in the UK is female? 1% of the prison population is female, 4%, 10%, 24%, so nearly a quarter, or half of the British population, prison population, is female. Write down your answer. Moving on. Question 5 of 8. What's happened to the number of cohabiting couples since the mid-1980s? So this refers to couples who live together like a married couple, but they're not actually married. So since the mid-1980s, it went down a bit, it stayed about the same, it went up a bit, it's doubled, or it's more than doubled. Okay, moving on again. Question 6. What percentage of UK births take place outside of marriage? 11% of births take place outside of marriage, 21%, 31%, 41%, or 51% of births take place outside of marriage in the UK. Moving on, the penultimate question, number 7. What percentage of 11 to 17-year-olds in the UK reported to a survey knowingly having committed a criminal offence? 8%, 18%, 28, 38, or 48% of young people admitted to knowingly having committed a criminal offence to a survey. Moving on to the final question. Number 8. What proportion of lone parents in the UK are female? 91%, 81, 71, 61, or just over half of lone parents are female. Okay, let's move on. We will return to these questions and answer them after a few slides. It's the right course for you if you're interested in a career that involves working with people. That might be social work, media, legal professions, the police, business, care work, human resources, and many, many more. So yeah, it is relevant to a vast range of different careers, including those which are not listed there on the slide. So you were given a lockdown transition booklet. You may not have done it, depends how long you've been on the list to do this course. But I certainly created one a few weeks ago, and some people have been going through the booklet doing various activities. If you've not already done it, you will need to get access to that booklet and interact with at least some of the activities ready for after the summer break. And one of them involves decisions as to whether statements about the course are true or false. So let's go through some of these. So, sociology is an easy subject. No, that's false. I mean, A levels are not easy. They're not easy. We don't give certificates away. And also the official qualifications board insists that all courses are of equal challenge. Of course, it might be easy for some people compared to others, but it's not an easy subject. Mostly common sense. Well, some people do criticise sociology, say, oh, it's just common sense. But no, of course not. I mean, you need to learn lots of theories within the course as well. It's assessed entirely by exams. That is true. Personally, I would like to see some coursework, but it's not. There used to be, but not anymore. You've got 3 exams at the end of year 13, each of them 2 hours long. It's relevant to all careers. Well, I would say, unsure about that. I would say it's relevant to most careers. I mean, some careers, if you're spent all your time in an office by yourself, just looking at a screen, looking at a load of statistics, then maybe not. But for most careers, I would say yes. You're expected to contribute your own ideas. Yes, of course you are. You don't have to. That next one on number 6, of course, is untrue. It's false. You do have to write essays because in the exam you will be expected to write 20 and 30 mark mini essays, which will take you about 45 minutes. So yes, you will need to write some essays. Study on sociology makes you a nicer person. Well, that's just a bit of a silly statement that I wrote, but I think it's possibly true because it gives you an understanding of people and diversity and could possibly make you more understanding and tolerant of other people. So I'm not sure about the answer there, but probably yes. Some employers and universities don't accept sociology. Well, all universities do. Some courses might not. If you're applying for something in veterinary science, then of course they would want biology and various other subjects, not necessarily sociology. So, but certainly universities value sociology, and employers, I mean, some employers probably don't know what it is, to be fair, but yes, it's very much accepted and valued. Just a matter of opinion? Well, no, not really. I mean, you are expected to have your opinion, but there are lots of theories you need to learn and you need to evaluate them. And of course, your own opinion could help you to evaluate these theories. You can succeed in sociology by simply learning your notes. Well, it's probably true, if I'm honest, but you wouldn't get that much out of it. You might get a decent grade, but you're not just here for the grade. You're here for the skills as well. So don't do more than just learn your notes. Get involved, interact with others, get involved in discussion and debate. So the topics we studied then in sociology: families and households at the start of year 12. We look at issues related to marriage, divorce, childhood, gender roles within the family. There's a bit there about demography and births and deaths, life expectancy, and so on. We also move on to education. What's the purpose of education? What kind of government policies have shaped the education system? Then we look at issues of class and ethnicity and gender and why there are educational inequalities. We look at research methods as well, questionnaires, interviews, different types of interviews, observation, and others. And in year 13, we study crime and deviance, which is quite a popular topic. In fact, many students love it so much that they go on to do a criminology degree. We look at why people commit crime, why most people don't commit crime, what the criminal justice system is made up of, the process that crimes go through, the relationship between crime and the media, crime victims, issues of gender and crime and ethnicity and crime, crime reduction, prisons, and so on. We also look at global development, which is great. I love that particular module. Global politics, aid, trade, issues of the environment, issues of health, issues of war and conflict, issues of what else do we do? Gender. What else? Lots and lots of urbanization. There's another one. Yeah, lots of kind of small topics within that module. And lastly, and we do tend to leave this to the end, sociological theory. Some big kind of debates around, is sociology a science? Can research ever be value free? What is the relationship, or what should the relationship be between sociology and social policy, so government policy? So really kind of a what is the point of sociology kind of debate. So another concept in sociology that you were given some tasks on in that booklet is on social change. So and social change is certainly an aspect of some of the topics I've just mentioned. So why is it that girls now do better in most aspects of education than boys do? Religious affiliations have reduced. Religious influence has reduced. We've seen an awful lot of social change in the UK in recent decades. So I asked you to select 6 aspects of society and then to consider ways in which we've seen some change. So I've kind of selected some myself, selected these: marriage, travel and transport, fashion, religion, sexuality, and having children. They're the ones that I would have probably chosen. So with marriage, fewer people are marrying now. Many people are marrying but are doing so later. Me, myself, I was 33 when I got married. Many people are doing it but then are ending it in divorce, separation, and many, of course, are choosing after a divorce to redo it. So let me shut up for a few minutes. You've got your pen and paper, and I want you to do a little activity whilst keep this video rolling, but I will just take a pause. So, do you have any thoughts as to why marriage is less popular now? What hypothesis would you put forward? A hypothesis is a statement, almost like an assumption that you think is a possible answer. Do you have any thoughts as to why marriage is usually done later in life now? Why is it not necessarily for life anymore? Why has divorce increased? And why do many people who do get divorced choose to remarry? So take just a couple of minutes, please, to scribble down your thoughts as to why that might be. Just another 30 seconds. Okay, so maybe you've made references to the decline in religion. Maybe that has influenced people's views on marriage. Maybe you've made reference to the media. You might have made reference to the law. Changes in the law has made divorce easier. Um, you could perhaps make references to feminism and changes in opportunities for women. So many women now don't have to get married. They don't have to stay in unhappy marriages. They can be financially independent. And also, it could be about social attitudes, which have changed and perhaps become a bit more relaxed. So there's less of a stigma, less of a kind of a negative label attached to being single, or maybe to um, living together outside of marriage. Okay, maybe you come up with something else, something better, maybe. Hopefully you did. Let's move on. So, moving on to, I'm not going to go through all of these, by the way, but just a couple more. So, travel and transport. Well, some of the changes we've seen are that some people now take full advantage of travel and transport, um, have some great kind of experiences. Many rely on it perhaps more than they perhaps should. Some people are consciously reviewing their use of transport to perhaps protect the environment. So let's set you a bit of a task here again. So let's take another couple of minutes. So, what are possible effects in this case? We're not looking for explanations or causes. We're now looking at the consequences. We're looking at the effects. Have a think about the possible effects of taking full advantage of travel opportunities. The effects for the individual, but also for wider society as well. What might be the effects of relying on transport perhaps too much? The impact that could have on individuals, but also for society as a whole as well, wider society. And also, what might be the possible consequences of people reviewing their travel and use of transport, um, perhaps minimising it. Okay, so once again, take a couple of minutes um, and scribble down your thoughts there. Okay, just another 30 seconds. Okay, so it would be fantastic to be able to sit in a room with you and ask you for your feedback here, but of course, because of this awful virus that is permeating the country, we're unable to do that. But perhaps you've made reference to um, consequences such as, um, well, if people take full advantage of travel opportunities and they're traveling abroad, this, of course, could enhance their own personal development. It could teach them an awful lot about different cultures. Um, they may well come back and bring that knowledge back. Um, it could lead to greater tolerance, greater diversity of views. There's a concept that we look at in sociology, globalization, and with people travelling all around the world, this arguably has an impact on people's attitudes, leading to greater diversity. People relying on transport too much. Um, well, I don't know whether you're the kind of person or whether your family's the kind of family that would jump in the car to go down the shop, but one possibility here is that it's not too good for the environment because, of course, with emissions and leading to possible kind of climate change. But for the individual as well, you've got all the issue of obesity, and we've got an obesity epidemic on our hands, and at some point in the future, it's going to hurt us with regards to the NHS, with issues of diabetes, heart disease, and other conditions associated with obesity. Um, and people reviewing their travel and use of transport by, for example, cycling or walking or maybe car sharing, making better use of public transport. This, of course, could have a positive impact on congestion um, and, of course, on the environment. Of course, during this lockdown, there's been far fewer cars on the road, and the environment has benefited from this. We've seen that many aspects of wildlife are becoming more bolder and confident. But also, I read somewhere that I believe Mount Everest could be actually seen um, from certain kind of cities and towns surrounding it for the first time in about 50 or 60 years because of the reduction in pollution. Okay, and there are many other consequences as well of travel and transport. So, also thinking about fashion, I'm not going to get you to do this now, but this is perhaps something you can do, with other people in your household. But fashion has changed. Perhaps clothing's now more revealing. You've got this concept of the sexualization of children, where I mean, I couldn't believe it when I first heard it, but padded bras for little girls, so sexualized clothing. Some people are heavily influenced by media role models, of course, with regards to what they wear. Some people have a kind of a disposable attitude to fashion. They'll buy some clothes, they'll wear it once, they'll never wear it again. Um, and others have a very kind of ethical view on clothing. They perhaps won't buy certain clothes that have been made in certain conditions, with issues of sweatshops, maybe issues of the environment, low pay, exploitation, and so on. So, thinking about issues of fashion, this is perhaps something you could do. I'd like to have a think about this in your own time, discuss it with people in your household. Um, what could be both the causes of fashions becoming more revealing now, and also what could be the consequences of this? What about this sexualization of children through clothing? What about consumers copying people they see on the media, or this disposable fashions? Why? Why do people have this kind of attitude now? Not everyone, but and what are the possible consequences of it? And likewise, with people adopting a much more kind of ethical attitude towards clothing, what could that perhaps do? Could it have an impact on companies that manufacture clothing, for example? So do give some thought to that in your own time. and bring them, bring your notes to the first lesson back if you can. Okay, so let's see how you did with these 8 multiple choice questions. Question 1, so what is the approximate size of the population of the UK in millions? Well, the approximate size is 65 million, although of course it could be more than that, it could be less. Do you think we really know about everyone who's in this country? There will be certain people who never registered their babies. There'll be some people who have died, but perhaps they've not been registered yet. There's also some people who are in the country here illegally. So that's an approximate number, 65 million. Question 2 was, what is the most widely read newspaper in the UK? Now, as it happens, in recent years, of course, newspaper sales have declined dramatically with online media, but certainly certain social groups still read newspapers. And the answer is that the most widely read is either the Sun or the Mail, Daily Mail. It's almost like they take it in turns to be the most popular. But these are the most widely read newspapers in the UK. And of course, they have particular readerships. The Mail readers tend to be perhaps a bit older, kind of conservative thinking, and the Sun is often read by manual or skilled manual workers or semi-skilled manual workers. It's traditionally a kind of a working class newspaper, and is very much a kind of a supporter of the Conservative Party as well. Question 3. In their lifetime, how many women in the UK will terminate a pregnancy? The answer is a very, very surprising. Well, I mean, I was certainly surprised. 1 in 3. So, yeah, lots and lots of terminations take place in the UK. But of course, not necessarily. It's not going to be the same across all different social groups. So some ethnic groups, for example, would have very, very low numbers of abortions. Other ethnic groups certainly much higher. Question 4. What percentage of the prison population is female? Right, well, you may be surprised at this. Some of you might think, well, it's 50-50, but no, definitely not. Definitely not 50-50. There are very few prisons in the UK that hold women. The number is actually a very, very low 4%. Just 4% of the prisoners in the UK are female. Now, why is this? This could be because women don't commit crimes bad enough to warrant being sent to prison, or it could be something to do with women being treated more leniently by the courts, and this could be because of kind of sexist attitudes, assuming that women have children to look after, and so some people may refer to it as the chivalry thesis. Men are chivalrous; they think women should be cared for, and they see women as quite vulnerable, and therefore need to be treated more leniently. But that said, men and women do commit different types of crime. Data suggests that men are more likely to commit violent crimes than women, but women are essentially shoplifters. Number 5, what's happened to the number of cohabiting couples since the mid-1980s? Well, you may not be surprised at this, but it is more than doubled, much more than doubled. Cohabiting households are the most fastest growing household in the UK. Number 6, percentage of UK births that take place outside of marriage. Of course, once again, this will be different across different social groups. So certain ethnic groups, so certainly ethnic groups that have a religion, are much less likely to have babies outside of marriage, maybe not even live together outside of marriage, but the percentage across the board is 41%. So 41%, 4 in 10, or more than 4 in 10 babies in the UK are born outside of marriage. Number 7, percentage of young people in the UK who report knowingly having committed a criminal offence. Well, the answer to this is nonsense, really. The actual answer is 28%, but it could be anything because different surveys receive different data, and of course, people could easily lie in a survey. So we look at this when we look at the sociological research methods. We highlight the point that that surveys using using a structured interview where the researcher is actually asking the question, they often receive invalid answers. People give what we might call socially desirable answers. They don't want to be judged. If someone said to you, "Have you ever committed a horrible crime?" you may well say, "No, I haven't," even if you had. And likewise, if you stop someone in the street and they're with their friends and you ask them if they've ever committed a crime, and they're with their friends, they may well exaggerate to say that they have committed a crime. So therefore, that figure of 28%, it's worthless. And finally, question 8, proportion of lone parents in the UK which are female. The answer is 91%. So only about 9% of lone parents in the UK are male. And there's lots of possible reasons for this. Have a think about how you might explain it. Why is it that when a couple splits up, the children tend to go with the mother? What about, could it be to do with social norms about gender roles? Could it be something to do with the man being unwilling to give up his job because he earns more? Could it be something to do with in a custody battle, the courts giving custody of children to the mother? Or could it be something else? Of course, in some cases, the father was never around to begin with anyway. Okay, so how did you do? If you didn't do very well, don't worry about it. Like I say, it's just a bit of fun, and also just to introduce you to some of the topics that we look at in sociology. So surveys and conducting research, families, marriage, a bit about crime, a bit about the media, and so on. Okay. So you've got a summer assignment to do for me. You need to bring this to the first lesson back after the summer in late August, early September. There's two things you need to do. One is to study the transition work booklet, which hopefully you've already kind of started. Of course, some of you may have joined the course a bit later than others. So make sure you've responded to at least most of these activities. And if you've already started them or even completed them, see if you can improve them a little bit. Try and add some extra notes to them. And the second task is for you to study a graph on a later slide, slide 22. It's a graph on ethnicity and households. You've got to study a graph and carefully follow some instructions. This is an opportunity for you to be prepared for doing A-level sociology after the summer, but also to make a good first impression and show us how committed you are. So the assessment then is for us to assess your literacy skills, analytical skills, numeracy skills. You're going to complete this task. It's got to be on a separate piece of paper, definitely, so you can definitely hand it in. This piece of work will be submitted. I will mark it. I will give it back to you with some feedback and a grade as well. So this is about seeing if you can follow some simple instructions. So you're going to study the graph on the next slide. You're going to carefully analyse it, perhaps even discuss it with someone else. There's a couple of notes you need to bear in mind. It's about percentages, so therefore each ethnic group adds up to 100. Also note that not all ethnic groups are presented on the graph. could be a problem maybe, and that some of them have been shortened. So Pak and Bang refers to Pakistani Bangladeshi, which for the purposes of this graph have been categorized together. You also need to note that the household ethnicity refers to that of the household's adult male, or if there's not a male in the household, it'll be the adult female. It needs to be no less than 400 words and no more than 500 words. So therefore, you may need to add to it, you may need to edit it. Hopefully your first draft will be longer, and then you can edit it down. You should do the following. Refer to any interesting comparisons and contrasts between different ethnic groups. You should try to explain some of these differences and some of the similarities. You also need to discuss any potential problems with the graph's likely accuracy. Is the data on the graph actually likely to be valid or accurate? You should word process it, present it appropriately in paragraphs with a title. You need to proofread it, and you need to bring it to the first lesson without fail. So here's the graph. As you can see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 family types on it, or household types. It has 4 ethnic groups, and you will need to analyze this, spend some time, take your time with it, and write a report on it. Just in case there are any problems accessing this graph with it being on PowerPoint, I've done a screenshot as well here, just in case, as a backup. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. You will need to make sure you do this work over the summer, of course, and I really look forward to seeing you, well, as soon as possible, hopefully August, but we don't know what the lockdown measures will be come that time, but hopefully I will see you very soon. Thank you very much. If you have any problems with the work that I've set, whether it be the graph analysis or whether it be the activities in the transition booklet, don't hesitate to email me at drushin@clcc.college. I can't promise that I will be checking my work email every day throughout the summer holiday, but I will certainly be checking it over the over the final days and final weeks of the summer term. But I will do my best to get back to you ASAP.